was not to bury somebody under the jail. My goal was to face this demon that I had been running from for 12 years.
Welcome to the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann, and this is the show where we bridge the gaps one story at a time. And today I have with me my friend, Ericka Murria. She is a motivational speaker. She has survived rape. She survived domestic abuse, depression, and a whole host of things. I'm kind of pausing because I hate to say survive. I really do. Because I feel like you're thriving and that you're not only thriving, but you're helping other people. Would that be true?
That's true.
Okay,
That's
okay.
true.
So that's what we're going to say. We're going to say you're a thriver. That you have survived anything and all things that have come to you, but you're making a way out of everything that you're doing.
Thank you. It's interesting because I generally choose survivor.
Yeah?
Because a lot of people tend to say victim. A victim of this and a victim of that. And, you were victimized and you're a victim. And I'm like, no, I am a survivor. So I may trip up and instead of saying thrive and say survive in our conversation. But I think that is a good word to describe because thriving takes a little bit more, push to keep going. By the grace of God, I have survived many things, but I've had to find something inside of myself to thrive and push forward.
Right. I've listened to your story. I've seen you. And I think beyond now we're at this hashtag Me Too. And I look at you more than just hashtag Me Too because your story started long ago.
Right.
You've dealt with the fact that the person who raped you, your rape kit had been sitting for forever.
Yep, 10 years.
10 years. And here it is, not only did you, thrive through that had to have been like a tough situation to have someone that you knew that did whatever to you, and then you had to kind of wait until Detroit was able to get their self together to do that. What was that like?
Well, I actually didn't wait. And that's something that I constantly remind people. When I was 21 years old, I was sexually assaulted by my boyfriend's cousin after my 21st birthday party. And when it happened, I went and I did what needed to be done with the rape kit, filing the police report. And at the time, with the follow-up report, my dad went with me. And my dad was kind of irate towards the end of that process. He wanted to know, well, so what's going to happen next? When do we go to court? And, he kind of thought that they would move forward in a swift manner because of what happened. That was a brutal thing that happened to me. He thought that everyone felt that way.
Right.
Especially working in that department of the police department. But the officer who did my interview, he wasn't caring, he wasn't kind. He asked me so many different questions like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, why would you do that? And why would, and it was victim blaming. And I mean, it was like I was on trial with the police officer. And so my dad asked, well, what are we doing next? And that officer then told my dad and myself that nothing's going to happen. He literally said it to our face. He said, I'm going to put her information in this file and with her kit in this box, and I'm going to put it on a shelf. He said, there are thousands of people before her. We don't have the funds to test. The machines are broken. And he said, if you have a problem with it, talk to your mayor. And Kwame was the mayor at the time. And he said he just has not allocated any money to this department. And that was flooring for me. And my dad, he couldn't get, he couldn't wrap his mind around it. So he kept asking questions. And everything just seemed to be a blur and a spin all around me at that moment. And it was like, wow, I'm 21. Nobody cares. I should have never went through the rape kit. I should have never told the police. I should have just went on about my life. And I just remember trying to gain myself to decide what I was going to do next. Because at the time I had a daughter. She was maybe 3. And single mom, trying to go to school, trying to find employment, in a low-income apartment, out in the sticks, and just trying to decide, is this it? And I just remember, I always used to tell myself, I love Jay-Z and I love Beyonce. I'm a rap music fan, period. But I remember at the time Jay-Z had a song and he said, once a good girl's gone bad, then she's gone forever. And so I used to remember looking in the mirror and crying and saying, I'm not going to be gone forever. You know, I would just tell myself, you know, what happened to me was bad. And I just remember saying, I'm not going to be gone forever. And just something clicked inside of me where it was like, I got to find out how to deal with these feelings that I'm having. I got to figure out how to go to work and go to school. But I didn't want what happened to me to change me for the worst. So I never waited. I continued to move forward, functioning, dysfunctional, single mom, student at Wayne State, and depression hit me. And then I ended up relocating to Montgomery, Alabama. I had some friends that were in school there. I literally gave away everything in my apartment that couldn't fit in a suitcase, and I left. And tried to put everything behind me and just kind of suppressed it. So I never waited for the police department to test my kid or call me. I just kept trying to scrape and move forward the best way that I could because I had a daughter to take care of.
Right. Now, I find it amazing. You and I had a conversation a couple months back, and you told me your story, but then you also, you were this, I don't know, this light on the phone. And although you were telling me your story, you were also talking about your girls. And I'm thinking to myself, what an amazing woman to have gone through what she's gone through and to be able to be where she is today. You've raised two daughters. You have raising two daughters. You're raising two daughters. And they themselves have their own activism about them. How is it that you end up raising two young activists?
Well, I think for myself, because I never considered myself a victim. I never considered myself a survivor. Because I didn't consider myself a victim, I never considered myself a survivor. And so, as you know, time flies by, my oldest daughter kept getting older, and it wasn't until Elise, my second daughter, was maybe about 3 or 4 when I started to get involved with domestic violence work. I had got on Facebook. I used to do party promotions outside of working for the hospital. So, you know, I'm online, I'm networking, I'm meeting people, and I stumbled across Kaylin Whisker's page. And this was around the time that she was doing her annual conference, and it was a 2-day thing. And so it was like, you know, call this secret number to get the location for survivors of domestic violence who wanted to pursue being an entrepreneur. So I'm like, I'm already an entrepreneur. I gotta go see some people, meet some people. You know, this is a vein I've never tapped into. I was really green. You know, I truly did not think about domestic violence. I guess I would say I thought about it the way that other people do. Just black eyes, busted lips, you know, maybe crackheads, you know what I mean? Like people being completely disheveled. And so I was like, well, you know, I go and I see, I can always learn. And so I went, and I will never forget, my car wasn't working. It was like everything that could happen did happen. My car wasn't working. I was arguing with my daughter's father because he was supposed to come pick the girls up, and I had like got in a cab and stuck him in the cab with me, got to the event, and I'm nervous and pacing around like I don't want to show up, you know, because I had a certain style about myself. So it's like I want to show up with my kids and looking unprofessional. And so I got there, and we stood at the door until my daughter's father could get there and get the girls for me and take them to my grandma's house. I mean, we argued at the front door. Like, that's domestic violence, you know? So I'm silly, you know I'm silly.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm like, we arguing out here at this domestic violence event. I'm like, you make me sick, you know, slam the door, get the girls in the car. And my kids just have always been with me. Everywhere I go, I take them with me. If it's somewhere that they can't go, I can't go. I do make sure that I check content, you know, and then make sure it's an age appropriate thing. If it's something that I can't explain to them, then they can't go. You know, something I don't think that they're ready for, I don't take them. But it's not many places that I found myself where I couldn't explain it to them. My mom had always taught me and my sister before she passed away that she wanted us to be able to come up to anybody's level. We should be able to talk to a senior citizen. We should be able to talk to a toddler, a lawyer, a judge, anybody. We should be able to come up to their level and meet them where they are, or make them meet us where we are.
Right.
And not be ashamed about it, regardless if you think you're above me or not. You got to come and meet me where I'm at.
Right.
And so that's how I've always been with my daughters. I've always felt that there wasn't too many things after they got to walking and talking and, you know, could get in school and read. It wasn't too many things that I could not share with them, that they couldn't understand. So I get to this event, and, you know, I shove them off on their dad or whatever the case, and I go in, and lo and behold, there are no black eyes. There are no busted lips. Everybody looked normal. And so I just kind of got to the back table, and I sat there. This was when I realized I was a survivor. I sat there, and people were recognizing me. Different women were recognizing me from the party life, you know, from the clubs and everything, because I promoted anything that could be promoted in the strip clubs, everywhere. And so they were calling me. I'm like, oh my God, you're a survivor? I had no clue. And I'm like, nah, I'm just here, you know, to figure out some stuff about being an entrepreneur and my business and how to grow my company. But they would say, could you pray for me?
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I'll pray for you. So I missed a major chunk of that event because I was in the hallway hearing people's stories and praying for them. Wow. And I finally come back in towards the end. I had missed breakout sessions. I had missed everything. So I come back in, and I'm at the table. And, you know, I'm silly, so I'm making everybody laugh at the table. We're cracking jokes. And this one young lady in particular, she was laughing, but she was more reserved. And so Sheila Hankins, me and Kaylin and others affectionately call her Umi. She was the presenter at that time. And she asked everyone in the room, what is it that you want to gain from this conference, and tell me your name. And so I'm at the very back, and so I started to see a wave of people stand up one at a time and say, my name is, and I'm a survivor of. They never said what they wanted to get from the conference. They just kept saying their name and what they were a survivor of. And so I'm sitting there like, nobody's saying what she asked. Like, I'm getting a little irritated because I want to know, like, who's in the room. So then it gets to my table, and the way our table was positioned, the young lady who was a little bit more reserved, she would have been the first one to say something at our table. And she said, oh no, I'm not saying anything. I'm okay, I'm not saying anything. And so I said, well, I'll say something. So I said, you know, hi, my name is Ericka Murria. I'm the owner of Team Supreme Productions, nightlife entertainment company, and I'm a survivor of. And it was like an anvil just dropped on my head. Oh, wow. And I could not stop crying. Instantly, tears started coming out of me. And I said, I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, homelessness, depression, being a low-income mom, a teen mom. Like, all of this stuff just started coming out of me. And I was like, I'm a survivor. Like, it clicked for me. And Kaylin came over to me, and she hugged me, and she couldn't finish her conference because she was like holding me up and wiping my nose, and she said, I'll help you. And so from there, she helped me figure out what my purpose was, what I was truly passionate about. And I'm passionate about women. I'm passionate about single moms, teen moms, all of the things that I had experienced as a teen mom. You know, I never fit into a program. I was too old or too young, too much education, not enough education. Oh, you know, you don't have this certificate or that. And I never fit. And so it was hard for me to gain stability for my oldest daughter, because the little one, by the time she came, I had a house and things like that. But for the first 6 years of my daughter's life, I bounced around from state to state and house to house, searching for what my mom had provided me and my sister, which was a house, a bed, a living room with a couch, you know, those type of things, to see mom get dressed every day and go to work. I wanted to build that. And Kaylin, by helping me figure out my purpose, it actually helped me figure out what I wanted for my daughters. And in the nightlife, I would see all these young ladies drunk, high, some of them passing out. I mean, I could sit at the bar and drink and turn down advances, turn down, anything that came my way. But I had to recognize, are my daughters able to do that when they become the legal age to drink and party? I'm a human being, but they're a human being as well. And because I may be strong enough to maneuver through this scene, I didn't want it to be normal for them to go out and hang out in bars and clubs. I didn't want them to take the chance of becoming sexually assaulted or murdered or kidnapped, you know what I mean, by these predatory people that you find, in the world.
Right.
And so I had to make a decision to leave that business alone and try to flip it. And so that's when I started my nonprofit, Supreme Transitions.
Awesome.
And in that is helping the regular citizen, the single mom, become totally self-sufficient. When I was sexually assaulted, I moved to Montgomery and I had applied for social services. And the way that their system was set up, it was set up for you to make a goal and then identify all the barriers so that you don't have to continuously be receiving those services, so that eventually you can get out of the system and become self-sufficient, truly self-sufficient. Whether you want to get a degree, you want to get a child care license, whatever your goal was, they had tracks for you to get there. And that was something that I noticed in Detroit. We don't operate that way, when it comes to resources and social services.
Right. Well, we're going to take a quick break.
Sure.
And we'll come right back, okay? This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Focus. The state or quality of having or producing clear definition. Focus One Entertainment is the premier videography company in the Midwest. We specialize in weddings, corporate events, documentaries, sporting events, and films. Regardless of the scope or budget, we approach every project the same way, by capturing and clearly defining your vision. Contact us at 313-444-3638 or www.focusoneNtertainment.com.
And we are back. This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann, and this is the show where we bridge the gaps one story at a time. And today I am sitting here and I'm talking to Ericka Murria. And we were talking before the break a little bit about the difference between the programs that they have in Alabama than they do here in Detroit. And tell us how your program helped in the same instance as those programs in Alabama did.
So I thought the biggest piece of it was the intake process. Being that I had been in shelter, and didn't get, to me, the intake that I needed to move ahead. It was just kind of shuffling paper, and this is what we do, and you just come back at a certain time until you find somewhere else to live. And so with my program, I wanted to do it an in-depth, personal, real conversation instead of just an intake, to where I could say, so why, don't you have a job? Are you being abused? Do you need other resources? And just really, I started to just kick it with people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, what's really going on with you? So you need DTE bill, help or resources for your utilities. So what will prohibit you from needing that service in 6 months? Do you smoke weed? Do you have a problem with budgeting? Do you smoke cigarettes? Do you drink? How much money? So just really get into the nuts and the bolts of it all. And even men, I've helped men, a lot more men than women actually, especially in the area of child support.
Wow.
And being able to get a feasible rate to where they can still live. I've had homeless men that work at Chrysler and the big three, and because they're paying more than half of their check in child support.
Wow.
And their pride wouldn't let them realize that you're off balance. Because yes, you do have to support financially, but your child also needs somewhere to come and spend the night.
Right.
So while you sleeping in the park, you need to have a stable place for your child to be able to come and spend quality time with you. What happens in the winter months? Of course, in the summer we can catch a bus and go downtown and sightsee. But what about in the winter? Your child needs to come. And so I've been able to help men and women to really figure out what, I hate to say normal, but what is self-sufficient for you?
Right.
What makes sense? What were some things that you saw growing up? Who was stable for you? Was it grandma? Was it your grandpa? Was it auntie's house? Because we all had that one place, if it was home or somewhere else.
Right.
And you had to understand how that was built and how it's sustained. And so that's what my programs would do. And we would do some fun stuff, like vision boards and things like that. And then I started to host a monthly workshop series where every month we would have a different company or organization come in and facilitate. So, for instance, PNC Bank, we had a partnership with them, and they would come in and talk about second chance bank accounts and help them restore your credit. And how do you open up a business account and things like that. And so it just began to develop and grow. My daughters were with me throughout that whole process. And that was kind of like going over their head. Well, mom's doing something today and we got to sell some chips. Because I would sell like little chips and snacks. But then God started to tug on me a little bit more. And I had a life coaching session on November 11th, 2011. And it was for an hour and 11 minutes. That was her thing. It was like playing into it.
Right.
And it was manifesting something within 90 days. And my first response was, well, I want a husband. Because I'm tired of paying these bills by myself. Like, I didn't want a husband for companionship.
Right.
It was just, I need somebody here to help me pay these bills. I'm tired of doing the bill part by myself. And so she laughed and she was like, well, do you have a boyfriend? And I'm like, no. So she was like, well, I don't think we'll be able to manifest a husband in 90 days. God can do anything. However, I just don't think that's going to happen. And so we had to dig a little deeper and take a little bit more time with me to really allow my inner self, to kind of stew a little bit. And we were doing these breathings and all this good stuff over the phone. And the first thing that came out was God Essence. God Essence. And she was like, wow. And I said, God had been telling me to do an outreach ministry. Because I am a minister in my church. Don't hold the cuss words against me. But that's been a part of my therapy now. We'll get to that. But so what came from that was that I started my second company, First Lady Motivations, which is an outreach ministry. And before my 30th birthday, I've hosted 2 women's conferences for women in transition, where women in shelter were invited, single moms were invited. They got massages. We have vendor tables. free giveaways, and we focused on 5 key areas: motherhood and budgeting, fitness, work-life balance. And so we gave away awards to our regular community achievers, called the Sojourner Truth and Our Woman Award, because in that process, God kept using Sojourner Truth to speak to me with her strength and her courage. And in the Ain't I a Woman speech, when she says, if women were powerful enough, if the first woman was powerful enough to turn the world upside down, now we as women should be strong enough to turn it right side up. And so that's what the whole idea is based on, Sojourner Truth and her strength. Her story, how she got free and went back and got her son. And, she did some amazing things for her time. And so that's where that started. And I think my daughters was sitting in on trainings with me. Because now I'm moving more into advocacy. Now I've met more women that are in that work. And they were inviting me to all these meetings, and of course my kids got to come with me.
Right.
So they would be coloring or doing homework, but that overflow, was seeping into their minds, into their spirits, and into mine as well, because I didn't feel like I had the education to chime in on those conversations. I felt more like I needed to be of service. And so I had the pleasure to travel with Kaylin and Umi everywhere, for different trainings, and host trainings in Lansing about the African American experience, policy reform as it pertains to African American women, and how all of these different societal challenges are intersecting.
Right.
And a lot of times it stems from domestic violence, whether you were a survivor of it yourself or you saw it as a child in your home.
Let's kind of take this in a different direction.
Sure.
Because I understand exactly everything that it is that you have done, and we know where it stems from. Do you believe had your life had been different, from the beginning of where it is that you were, that up until this point that you would be doing the same thing?
Oh no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've also said, as much as I miss my mom when she passed away when I was 16 years old, I know for a fact, had she been living, my life would have never made a lot of those dips and turns. I'm not saying that I'm happy she passed away, but I'm thankful for the experiences that I've had, even starting with her passing away.
Right.
Because it changed the trajectory of my life and where things were going.
Right.
So
I believe that you probably came here in this world to birth you. The woman that's getting ready to do way more than what you've already done. You've touched so many lives. You did a series on HBO.
Yes.
With what's her name? I don't want to say it. Yeah, thank you, because I don't want to mess it up. But I think even that being the beginning of something else. Where do you think that you are going as far as what you've been through, the healing that you've surpassed in your own life? Where do you think that you are going? What is the result of all of these things? Do you know?
I have no clue what the result will be. I do believe it's legendary. I do believe it will be a legacy for all of my tree branches to come. It's been hard. This year specifically has been the hardest year. It took 2.5 years to pursue my case and to go to trial. And so during that same time, I was asked to speak and share my story from the backlog for this documentary that Ericka Murria is producing with her nonprofit, the Joyful Heart organization. And so her goal in producing this film was to bring awareness to how the kids have been mishandled, and getting laws and legislature changed on how we handle these kids and survivors and the rapists. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so she wanted to find a way, the best way that she could, use her platform to speak to those who can make those changes. And it really fell in my lap, you know, accidentally. I was traveling for the National Women of Color Network, and I spoke in DC. And by this time, I had created a T-shirt for my nonprofit as a fundraiser, and it was titled "I Am Evidence" with the Detroit D in it. And I thought I was making the shirt as a fundraiser to bring something good and new, have people talk about what's good and new in the city of Detroit.
Right.
That's why the D was there. And I was trying to get a radio show, and I was going to use that as like my base to have entrepreneurs come on and tell me what their evidence of. It's primarily black men in our community that decided to go another route versus crime, so we can bring some good news, you know, out of our city. And so everything was just falling through, and I was like, what is going on? Like, I know I heard I am evidence, plain as day. And so it's really funny, before I made the shirt, so I was asked to come to a radio interview with Tracy McCaskill. And I took the girls, and we have this little inside joke that my youngest daughter's name was supposed to be Tracy McCaskill. Because my oldest daughter, every morning when we would drive her to school, you know, Tracy McCaskill would do the report. And she said, I just love Tracy McCaskill. And so I said, well, we're going to go find out what I'm having. So, and I told her it was a girl. She said, we should name her Tracy McCaskill. And so it was amazing for them to meet her, and she just loved on them. But the last question she asked me was, what's one thing that you want people to remember from your story? And that morning, while getting dressed, I kept hearing in my spirit, I am evidence, I am evidence. And it was repeating in my head until I said it out loud, like, I am evidence, you know? Like, okay, like, I am evidence. And so when she asked me that question, I said, I am evidence. And I said, I'm evidence that a single mom can become more. I'm evidence that prayers work. I'm evidence that, you know, life, you don't have to be your circumstances. You can go beyond that. And she said, girl, you better put that on the shirt. If you don't, I will. So, you know, the entrepreneur in me, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a fundraiser. We're going to kick this thing out. And, and I'm trying to do a radio show, and, you know, I can get it, you know, figure it out that way. And nothing worked out. So here I have all these shirts, and I'm giving them away. I'm giving them to sick kids. I'm giving them, you know, divorcees. I'm giving them to everybody, you know, that I thought had a story. Passing them out at church, and, you know, everybody got a testimony. And so I'm out there in DC doing the speaking engagement. And the young lady at my table, she said, tell me about the rape kit backlog. And I'm like, it's national news. And I like barked it at her though. And I'm never mean, you know, to people on purpose. And I went in my hotel room and I was like, why would she ask me that? And I looked in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God. Like, God, you've been tricking me to walk around with this across my chest as a sign, and I'm literally evidence that's been sitting on the shelf for 10 years.
Wow.
And so I did that. I came home, and then I met Kalima again, and she called me. She said, sis, I want you to come do a workshop. And I came up with this great idea for I Am Evidence. You know, I Am Evidence Healing Rocks. And that was my thing. And she called me and she said, you know, so a documentary crew wants to interview survivors from the backlog. And I was like, hell no. And she was like floored, like, what, Ericka? Because I don't cuss. She's like, what? And I'm like, hell no. In my Oprah voice, you know, the color purple, hell no. And so she was like, okay, well, I thought you did this. Maybe I'm confused. And I told her, I said, I've never told anybody, you know, what happened to me. And so the short of the long, I ended up doing it that Friday. and they called me back and they let me know that this was a project that Mariska had in mind and her why. And then later they called me back and they said, everybody's falling in love with you and your story.
Wow.
And we want to honor you. And so we went into partnership on the name. And so they renamed it to I Am Evidence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We're going to sit and let the audience marinate on that.
Okay.
This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Iology Inc., an innovative, navigational, and creative company that works with its clients from the inside out. We believe in walking our clients hand in hand, from concept creation to brand management. Our innovative process assists our clients in conceptualizing, developing, building, rebuilding, or restructuring their lives, businesses, and brands. Are you ready to be seen, heard, and remembered? Contact us at iologyinc.com.
Hello, Detroit, and welcome to the secret society of twisted storytellers, where real people tell true stories live on stage. No notes, no poetry or Dr. Seuss, just the truth from their lips to your listening hearts and minds. Stories so raw and revealing, so hilarious, human and healing, they will move and inspire you. Take a break from what you usually do. Come out, connect, meet old friends and new. Every third Friday at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Visit www.secretstorytellers.com to watch videos and for info and tickets today.
And welcome back to the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann, and this is the show where we bridge the gaps one story at a time. I'm smiling because I'm thinking about your daughters. Now, off camera, we have her youngest daughter here, and she is such a lady. I wish we should turn the camera on her. She is such a young lady, you guys. But I want to talk about them only because they've been with you throughout this whole entire process. Yes. You and I were on the phone one day and you were talking about your girls, and the way that you talked to them kind of reminded me of how my mother used to talk to me. Like, you're real, straight up. Now, was your mother real and straight up with you?
Yep. Yep, flat out. Yep, Ness ain't play no games. Okay. My mom was cheetah print, red lipstick, red nails, Capri 120s, you know. She was a young mom though, you know. I'm still holding her cigarette. She was a young mom. She passed when she was 35.
Wow.
36.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was young in age.
Yeah, very young.
So Imani never got to see her.
No.
Never got to see her.
No.
Tell me, in the way that you parent your kids, how much of that is your mother?
I think a lot of it is my mom, because my mom, because I think she was a young mom, she brought a lot of humor, because she was still growing with us. Right. You know what I mean? She had been married early and divorced early in her life, and just kind of trying to figure it out. And she would always say 3 the hard way. You know, it's the 3 the hard way. And so it's weird. It's kind of, you know, funny that I look like her and I have 2 daughters. And so I say the same thing. But my mom, she made me and my sister feel like we were a team. You know what I mean? And so it wasn't much that she didn't share with us, like, hey, this is what we're doing and this is why. It like that same idea that you got to come up. You got be a kid, but you still got to come up. And when we go places, I need you to act like I raised you. You know what I mean? And because you're a reflection of me. That's something she just said in my ear. You're a reflection of me. You know, so she's always talking to me. And other people laugh because I'm an old school mom. You know, I believe like coming in when the street lights are on, and you got to do the dishes, you got to do certain things to be able to go somewhere for the weekend. That's how we were raised, like very traditional. And but a lot of things that my mom experienced growing up, she shared it with us. She told us about when her mom and dad got divorced. She told us, you know, how she felt when that happened to her, when she got divorced, when her and my dad would fight. She told us things because we were her best friends. You know, we were like the closest people to her. And I never looked at it that way until I had my own kids. And it's like, when I don't have anybody else to talk to, I I got to talk to them. And I have a vision for my life, as an entrepreneur, and I have goals, but I can't get to those goals if everybody ain't on the same train.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I have to talk to them age appropriately, separately, and then I talk to them as a team. All three of us sit at the table, and I say, okay, look, this is what's going on. Like even with the documentary, okay, look, this is what's going on. Do you want me to do it? How do you feel? Why would this be important? And they were like, yeah, Mom, do it, and blah, 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 blah. And they were a part of that. And I made sure that they were a part of it. So they're in the film. You see me doing mom stuff, because all of us have crazy schedules. Oh, excuse me. But I try to run my house like a business. So like I have a big calendar in the kitchen. It's a desk calendar, but it's on the kitchen wall. Everybody writes their stuff on the calendar, so everybody knows what everybody's doing and what time.
Right.
And that's how we coordinate. Like I don't drive sporadically. I drive on time, on point, to like it's the quickest way to go to her first, this, that, and then we'll all go to the grocery store and then we'll all come home, So, I have to have it that way in order for me to have some sanity.
Right.
And I don't have a lot of support. So that's another reason how they kind of like accidentally got involved with activism, because they had to go with me.
Right.
I wanted to be a part of this, and it was like, can I bring my kids? And I'm thankful for Michelle Obama sharing her story when she had an interview, and she took her baby with her.
Oh, excuse me.
She was like, okay, I'm gonna need childcare.
Right.
Obviously, So that changed me, because I would never go into a job interview and say I had kids, because I didn't want them to look at me as a young person with sick kids and I'll be taken off. But I have literally changed my career goals to accommodate them, to where now I work for the Y. Where I have the flexibility, so where I can just take a week off, or I can leave early, or make my own hours, so that I can say, okay, I gotta go get my kid, drop her off, pick this one up, and so they understand it's a team.
Right.
But as far as the advocacy thing, we talk about current events. Everything we hear on the radio, driving to school, I turn it down and say, what do you think about that? And then it hit me one day to ask Elise, the little one, in the back seat, what does she think about it? And she's so profound, it's almost like having a car crash. Like, what did you say? And she's like, oh, and she'll say it again with her little voice. Oh, and this is how I feel, Mommy. And it's just my observation. She'll say something like that. As little as like 2 or 3, like it's just my observation.
Wow.
So I knew she was different. And for Imani, she's a little bit more reserved. So I have to pull. Well, Imani, tell me how that makes you feel. Well, what do you mean? Well, what does that mean? And then when we hear big words that people use on the radio, tell me what that means. So they Google it and they tell me, and I'm like, okay, so if I use it in a sentence this way, what does that mean? And so I just want them to continue to grow, and I want them to be prepared for life,
right?
The real world, like honestly and truthfully, because the real world hit me head on when my mom died when I was 16, had my daughter when I was 17, and was homeless at 18, and nobody cared. You know what I mean? I had to be able to go into these different places and be able to articulate what I needed, and I needed today.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that's what I want for my daughters. God forbid I should leave here before I see 95 years old. I want them to be able to make some waves, and do some stuff.
Right.
I want them to be badass chicks.
Right.
And accomplish things. And on my journey, transitioning from corporate America to the nonprofit world as an entrepreneur, and even doing the film, I started to see that you can create a life. You can be whatever you want to be. And so I want them to know, everybody says, what do you want to be when you grow up? You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a nurse. You can travel and do documentaries and get paid, by HBO. You can have a talk show like Kai. That's why I wanted my daughter to connect with you, so that she can see, all of the different things that you can do, what you're passionate about. You can do it. And then living by example. So they're very smart. They blow me away. They're very responsible. But with the rape kit, with my experience, that was the hardest thing, I think, for the three of us. It was hard for me because I had to stop being mom the superhero to mom actually the victim. And they had to see me every day fighting this thing head on, getting beat up, getting knocked down. You know, they ran my bath water. Imani cooked food. Elise would give me coupons that she would make, and it would be like, you know, a free hug or a free kiss or a massage. And I haven't cashed them in yet. I'm saving them for the big day. Whatever that big day is, I'll need it soon. But I've been holding on to my little coupons. And then Elise is the best at pranks. And she is the best at surprise gifts. Yeah. So like Mother's Day, I came out of my room and it's a sign on the floor that she made. Go in the bathroom, the mirror's covered up, and she taped something on there. It says, "You're beautiful." And then she put like she cut out hearts and emoji faces and like made a trail, and I had to find all the stuff that she made. And she's always making a card. She thinks about us, me and my daughter, for every holiday, every birthday. She is a ray of sunshine. And Imani is cynical and sarcastic and a baby asshole. But they are both very much like me. And so it's like, it's hard for me to get mad at them. I laugh more than anything. Like, I get pissed off and laugh. Yeah. Like, oh God, I can't stand you looking at myself, you know? So it's fun. I think it's fun. I try to be a responsible parent. Our house is pretty stable. You know, I don't have any men in and out of my house, so it's like a safe haven for girls. I always have at least 10 kids at my house on any given day. Their friends call me mom. Their friends are at my house when they're not there. But you know, it's cool. You know, we hang out, we do stuff, and we talk. So we talk about current events. We talk about the things that I've experienced. And the day that we got the verdict, I was nauseous. I could barely drive. And I kept saying, I don't want to tell them. I don't want to tell them because they want a win. Right. You know? And they understood the severity of it all. And I had to explain to them what the registry was. I had to explain to them what type of jail time was involved. And I actually had to share with them my story. Because I knew I was going to share it for HBO. Right. And I didn't want them to be sideswiped. Right. And that meant I had to answer questions. And so it was really, really hard. But I just took it in like miniature baby steps and just explained the nuts and bolts of what is sexual assault. What are secrets? What are bad secrets? And when I finally got up the nerve to tell them, we were driving. And they said, well, how was court? And I said, well, we got a not guilty verdict. And my oldest daughter immediately started crying. And Elise was in the back seat and she said, what? No way, Mom. Well, what about the registry? What about the registry? And so I kind of laughed and I looked over my shoulder and I said, well, no, he won't be on the registry. And I thank God that he gave me the wisdom that I needed to explain that to them. And he gave me, he's still a rapist. Regardless to what happened in that courtroom. His family knows he's a rapist. They'll always know he's a rapist. And God said vengeance is his. And so I had to explain to them that my goal was not to bury somebody under the jail. My goal was to face this demon that I had been running from for 12 years. So now we won because that door is closed, but it's open for him because he's still going to have to live a lie. And I think once they got that, you know, it still hurt a little bit, but then I said, you know that song? You know, I'm like the uncool mom. So I'm like, you know that song that come on the radio? And they were like, what? You know, and I'm like, He get mad and we getting rich. And they was like, Ma, whatever. But but they laughed and I told myself, so we'll be fine. But because we're Christians, we have to pray for him. That one, he doesn't hurt somebody else.
Right.
Two, that he doesn't hurt himself. Because we want God to get the glory out of this.
Right.
Whenever it's gonna come, we will be able to bear witness to God getting the glory out of this.
Right.
So that was hard, but we've been through some changes this year. After my trial, I quit my job. I completely removed myself from all of my church responsibilities, and I just started to take care of me on a whole nother level.
Good. Good for you. Good for you. If you had to leave us with something, what would that be?
Outside of the I am evidence thing, something inside of me just wants to speak more about being a mom and being transparent. I think that the thing that I would like to leave behind is that kids are very smart and they're very resilient and they can handle more than we think they can. And I would like to challenge the single moms to push their kids a little bit further to their awareness to things that they think they don't know about. I think it's time for us to build soldiers. And the more knowledge that kids have about certain issues, even the things that we're ashamed of, you never know how that might be the spark, for the future. I love Tupac. I love Tupac. We saw the movie in the theaters 3 times. Yes, and I took my daughter to go, wouldn't see me, and I was rapping and everything in the theater, and she was like, Mom. But he also said that he may not be the person to make the change, but he'll spark the mind to make some change. And so I think that's what we have to do as moms is totally remove ourselves and strip down. If you got a horrible boyfriend, but your son sees it, take him to the park and tell him, yeah, I may not be strong enough to leave, but I don't want you to do this. You know what I mean? If you are the drug dealer and you have children, and they see different things, be real. Be real. And let them know why, how you got there. You know what I mean? And if I could do things differently. Because kids are brilliant. Like, they come here completely different. And so I think it's a disservice, how we were raised and our parents were raised, just stay in a kid's place. You just be seen and not heard and that type of thing. But now I think we have to really, the way that this world is changing and evolving, we have to evolve the way that we parent.
Ooh, that was so good. That was good. I was over here shaking my head like, yeah. I so agree with you, and I'm glad that you chose that. I'm glad that you chose to leave us with that, because that is the key. That is totally the key. Our children are the key. I thank you for coming on the show. Tell us where we can reach you, where we can get at you on social media. If you have any websites, whatever, tell us.
Okay. I am my real name on all social media. On all social media, my name is Ericka, Ericka, and my last name is Murria. On Instagram is hi_I'm_Ericka, and Twitter, which I have just fallen in love with, I can be found at Transition Supreme.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you sharing your story with us and talking about your babies. They were the main thing. The main thing. Well, thank you for watching the Conversations with Kai Mann show. Good night. miss a conversation with Kai Mann, watch anytime on any of these platforms.